The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contest, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/ThePodcastingDead.
Coming at you live from two different locations, man. I'm Justin, and the fellow with the better sounding mic is, you want to introduce yourself?
I could be anybody. You can't see me, but I can see you, brother. Yeah.
You can. That's odd. I'm actually just getting back from vacation, and I took Monday off so that I didn't have to go in. I could kind of recover, get over the post-vacation depression. But so I am coming to you via Google Hangouts from my basement. JP, of course, still in studio as we get ready to dive into the second episode of The Walking Dead for Season 10. And JP out the gate, man. I'm thinking that aside from it being, what worries me is I hope they don't get back into the habit of doing single character or like single group episodes, because what we've really liked is the fact that they've been bouncing around to so many different stories and keeping it fresh and never really has time for a dull moment. However, I'm not saying this episode wasn't good. It was a little slower, but I think it's really cool that we're actually finally getting some backstory on Alpha and Beta, because in the comics we really didn't get too much from them.
Nah, man. And number one, you should be off because it's Columbus Day. It's a federal holiday, so I don't see why, any of us should be at work anyway. If The Simpsons taught us one thing: Columbus's atrocities set aside, we still celebrate Columbus Day. But anyway,
actually, a lot of states are starting to change it to Indigenous Peoples Day.
Indigenous peoples. Believe me, I've been putting people on blast just all week long. I like Columbus Day, man. I like the mythos behind him. I like the Sopranos episode, Christopher Columbus, the one about him. Anyway, enough about the Sopranos and Christopher Columbus, man. Let's talk about the Whisperers. They were doing some weird stuff this week, man. Some dissension in the ranks, some flashbacks. I like this episode. Like you said, I would have liked to have seen a little bit of what was going on with our main group. Nonetheless, it was a good little one-shot.
And I think the biggest disappointment, and this is silly, this is me nitpicking, but my biggest disappointment was I get that this whole episode was kind of going on while all the other groups are doing their things in the first episode, kind of showing you where they were in comparison. Almost like this could have been in the first episode, but they probably didn't have time, whatnot. But when she steps out of the woods and looks up at the end and it ends, I still, even though we've already seen it, I wanted to see Carol up there again. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I wanted to see it line up with Alpha and Carol's stories. But that's just me nitpicking. That we didn't see Carol up on the ledge.
Right. Yeah. The only thing, man, I hate with episodes like this is no Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It's just like with Fear the Walking Dead when there'd be an episode without Victor Strand. I mean, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is just like, he's a big part of why I'm still like tuned in and engaged, man. And I want to see him used. I want to use him up.
He's a great Negan. Yeah, he's a great Negan. And I definitely hope that they do. I really hope this season they start focusing more on Negan. Like I said, the first episode I really enjoyed. This episode I really enjoyed. I didn't enjoy it as much as I did the first episode, but it's interesting because, it's October, right? And everybody, lots of gals, some guys, everybody's into hocus pocus this time of year. Well, the new Gamma character is actually played by, her name's Thora. I can't remember her last name, but she actually plays the little girl in Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, man, I watched just enough of the Talking Dead to find that out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, small world.
Yeah.
But so she had to go through some pretty wild stuff. Had to basically sacrifice her sister to save Alpha, which I guess essentially is what the Whisperers want to see, is kind of group above self type deal. But her sister was the girl that had to set the baby down. I like how things are kind of coming around full circle.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if you're going to take somebody out, man, don't just like jump on their back and play piggyback. I mean, I get that she was trying to bring the swarm down on her, but even still, man, I would have came at her with a knife or took her out at the knees or done something.
Do a leg sweep.
Yeah, and then got the hell out of there so I wasn't eaten alive, That would have been my number one priority. Don't get eaten alive.
Well, if there's one thing that we probably shouldn't have done, but we used to, and I learned playing football with friends, because I didn't play for the school, but we did a lot of, big groups of us playing full contact football. And if somebody's bigger than you or somebody's in a position you don't know you can take them down, just go for the legs.
Right.
I mean, she should have just went low, tackled those legs, took her down, and I guess held her there until the walkers had at her. Instead, she jumped on her back and gave her plenty of time to evade the situation.
Yeah, man, it is crazy stuff. But like you said, man, I did dig the backstory. I mean, it's basically what happens to the mentally ill when society breaks down. They do weird stuff and wear people's skin and start crazy kinky cults. Even though it's not a kinky cult, ain't nobody get no butt. What's the point of having?
I definitely felt this was more cultish.
Oh yeah, dude.
Than like the comics portrayed the Whisperers to be.
Yeah, I mean, Alpha's definitely got a different way of going about it than Negan. You know, I mean, just like hug her to your crotch and just kind of stroke her hair and get her back in line.
Yeah, that was a little odd. But
yeah,
we learned that Beta, which I thought that was pretty cool, how we find that Beta's wearing the skin of his best friend.
Yeah, man, that skin's got to be old too. That flashback, said like 7 years ago?
It was a long time.
Yeah, dude, he's had to have I don't know what he's using for maintenance. If he's got that spray they give you when you buy Timberlands to spray on and preserve. I don't know what he's using, man, but he's keeping that skin looking good. The best friend that he's skint up kind of reminded me of the guidance counselor on Freaks and Geeks. I don't know if I'm the only one, but
I could see that. I didn't get that thought when I watched it, but I could see that. I just imagine though, it's just a weird thing to do. Like if I die in the apocalypse, JP, please don't wear my face.
I don't think I'd wear you as a mask. I'd probably do a cool belt, skin enough for a cool belt and make you into a utility belt or something.
You could do like Ed Gein and make a nipple belt.
Or maybe chaps. Maybe turn you into some assless chaps.
Some assless chaps.
Which, my friend was telling me it's weird people say that because all chaps are assless. That's why they're chaps. There's no such thing as assed chaps.
That's like calling it like a string thong or a up the ass crack thong. Like all thongs go up your ass crack. That's what a thong is.
Yeah. But
I didn't think about that because I don't have much experience with assless chaps in my recent years. So, I didn't know, but now I do know. So now I can be pretentious and correct people whenever they say assless chaps now. So I thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. There you go. But no, man, definitely a different way of doing things than Negan. And I guess you can't really say it's effective since she did turn on her, but I don't know. Maybe she should have melted her face instead. Maybe that would have helped.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where, Beta was kind of right. Beta was going to pretty much punish her, kill her, whatever, after the first incident. And, it's kind of it's one of those things, too, where unlike the comics, because I noticed a lot of ways that they kind of went away from the comics on this one, which I'm fine with. I never have a problem. There's certain things in the comics I think have to happen to make this show work.
Right.
But I don't think that they have to follow it to the letter. I mean, I like seeing different takes on things, but I felt like Beta did question her like maybe a time or two. I feel like in the comics, and she kind of would be, because I remember at one point he questioned her and she's like, "Do you want to challenge me to be the new alpha?" And he's like, no, definitely not. I would never. Whereas in this one, it almost feels like he was challenging her a lot more than he would have in the comics.
Yeah, it did seem that way. But
they and then the whole hand holding thing they did too, to me, just was a little weird.
Yeah, man, I think it all comes down, all this cultish behavior, all these dictators throughout The Walking Dead. It comes down to sexual frustration, man. And I'm not trying to be silly. I think if Beta and Alpha were to release some sexual energy on each other, make each other jizz them a little bit, man, I think things would be a lot more laid back. I think they'd get away from the whole let's just be wild walker Indian people. I don't know. Same thing with Negan, man. I always said he's a repressed homosexual. That's why he's got this possessive nature with his brothel of women and why he's melting people's faces. But I don't know. Man.
You've always said that. I've never heard you say that.
Well, starting this morning, I got to thinking about it. So I've always said it starting this morning. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like you're right, but at the same time, I feel like that's also your solution to any problem in life is to just hump each other.
It's a good solution, though. I think it chills people out. All I'm saying is, if you're gonna have a cult, you've got to have some weird, kinky, sexual, rituals and stuff. There's got to be some orgies going on for a cult to work. That's basically
Clearly,
what I'm
there's
saying.
some whoopee going on, being that girl had a baby.
Yeah,
well, we know they're not really showing it on the TV show, but in the comics, the Whisperers were a lot more rapey.
Oh, they were very rapey. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of just their way of life. And see, I feel like in the comics, the Whisperers, and they've mentioned it in the show, but in the comics, the Whisperers were trying to live more animalistic, just in the sense of like a pack and, all of that. Whereas in the show, I get that they've mentioned that. And Alpha spoke about that a bit in last night's episode. But also, I feel like the show's going for a bit more of a cultish vibe, which you probably would have to go the more cultish route in order to get people to follow you, because I really don't see the appeal of anyone when you try to tell them, hey, come follow us. We're going to rape each other and wear dead people faces. That's how we survive. I feel like most people would be like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah,
so I feel like you do have to be a bit cultish and brainwash people in order to get them to follow something like that.
Yeah, I always assumed the biggest selling point for a cult was the orgies, but I guess not in this instance, at least not that we've seen yet. But
that would be my big selling point.
Yeah, I mean, that was my biggest selling point for joining the podcast, But no, man, I mean, I like the fact that in the comic they were just kind of like, we're living the nomadic native way of, like going back to, the ancestors, the hunter-gatherer kind of thing, until you find out about all the rape. And then you're like, okay, well, that's, wearing dead people's faces was bad enough, but plus you got to worry about getting raped. Ugh.
Non-stop.
Yeah, non-stop. But
so yeah, I mean, it was cool, like I said, to see. I mean, and I don't know though. It's one of those things where I do want backstory on them, but and I guess it's different if you're a comic reader and if you're, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But kind of one thing that was, I don't know. In a way, sometimes it is cool to not really get a backstory. I don't know, like the Joker in the comics, we never really get his real backstory, but the movie was really cool to see a backstory. So
no, I loved it, dude. I'm going to see it again tonight. At least that's the plan.
You're coming down to my neck of the woods, most likely, right?
I'm thinking about it, man. Y'all got that like old school theater that hasn't been updated since like 1985. So I thought it'd be a really cool setting to see that movie,
Yeah, and we've got a Joker review podcast.
We do, and we're another week we'll probably do one that's a spoiler filled, like an actual like diagnosis of it.
Yeah, we did the spoiler. Just because I'm getting back from vacation, you got to refresh my memory. Was that on the Patreon?
I think it's actually. I know it's on SoundCloud. I don't know if it's on YouTube yet, but
yeah, it's on. If it's on SoundCloud, that means it's also on iTunes. It's also on Spotify, so it's available lots of different places. So if you want a spoiler-free review of the Joker, make sure you go and check us out. It's not on YouTube because I usually handle the YouTube, and I was at the beach doing as little as I could work-wise. So,
hey, that's the whole point of a vacation, as I understand it.
And I really, really, really needed a vacation. So,
but yeah, man, as flashback episodes go, man, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I did not like it. I didn't love it, but I did not like it. And I still say that this episode was better than anything I saw on Fear the Walking Dead this whole season.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. It was cool to see that lady at the very beginning just get rid. We really hadn't seen a zombies like really maul somebody in a while.
Oh, my God.
And it was great seeing that.
Off.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
that was disgusting.
Yeah.
Like I'm with you. Like I'm loving this. Again, that's my thing, man. Is that The Walking Dead is much darker than Fear, and I think that's why it works. Fear the Walking Dead just continues to try to be the ABC family version of The Walking Dead, and that's why it's suffering. Yeah, I'm glad. I completely forgot about that till you mentioned it, but I am glad to see we're getting back to some of those just brutal, gut wrenching, kind of make you cringe zombie feasts, because we hadn't really seen that in a while.
Yeah, dude, it was great. I'm not going to lie, though. It kind of reminded me when her nose got bitten off. Remember Master of Disguises? Like he's the turtle guy, and he bites the guy's nose off and then just spits it back on his... It was very bizarre, but that didn't happen in The Walking Dead, of course. But, it is cool, man. Like, just seeing Beta just like this... like serial killer looking dude just like locked up in a mental, hospital. And that's where she finds him. It makes total sense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And she should have been there herself before all this broke out, man. Alpha
I do
crazy.
I like how she told her accent still throws me off, man. Like whenever they get these non-Southern actors to do Southern accents, they always over exaggerate it. Like, I mean, we have Southern accents because we're from the South, but I mean, I don't talk like this.
Right.
She's got that very Savannah, Georgia kind of accent.
Yeah, she's overplaying it.
It's almost, and that might not have been a good example. That was a better example of Andy Bernard, but. You know, she's got this almost weird, like Southern accent that nobody from the South really talks like anymore, unless you're on some kind of old timey movie and you're playing like a plantation housewife or something. Like nobody really that I've ever met. And again, they're in Virginia. So, or at least I think they're in Virginia. Alexandria is in Virginia. But I don't really know anybody, and I know they could have migrated, but.
Well, I mean, if she was like 75 years old, that sort of old school accent might make a little bit more sense. But
her accent just throws me off a bit. But she's a really good actress.
Southern actors really need like a lobbyist group or like a union just to themselves. Like Southerners for Southern parts or something. I don't know. But it's like with the transgenders don't like seeing what do you call it? Like. What do you call a person?
Not transgender people.
Right. There's
I'm sure I can't keep up with all the terminology.
Yeah, dude.
Man. Like,
but they get
everybody, but
they would get upset if I were to play a trans guy or whatever.
You're
and I think Southerners, should, have the same sort of mentality, stop giving all our parts to Brits.
I could see that. Like I said, I mean, Samantha Morton that plays Alpha, she does a great job. You could tell she's an incredible actress. Just her accent is a little bit too Southern.
It's on the nose. It's too on the nose.
But I do love it when she told Beta. She said, "If you're gonna try to kill me, I've got two things to tell you. One, I'm hard to kill."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I love when she, and then she said, "You're gonna have to kill my daughter too, because I'm not leaving without her." But I just love I'm hard to kill. I mean, I like how tough she seems, like because I like that you could definitely see how she's becoming, or in the flashbacks at least, becoming Alpha, just because she's so strong-minded, so strong-willed, and she's tough. But the whole AB thing kind of threw me off.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured the whole in the comics, she just went with Alpha because they didn't have names because they were kind of in a pack. Mm-hmm. So it was just like the Alpha, Alpha male, female, and then the Beta male, female. And now we're going Gamma.
That was we're going Gamma. That was a weird comment to make too. Like, you're going to have to kill my daughter first. So that basically implies she's going to, if she has to, use her daughter as a human shield?
Well, she didn't say that you have to kill my daughter first. She basically said, if you're going to kill me, you're going to have to kill my daughter because I'm not going without her. Not necessarily saying you have to kill her first, but, if you do kill me, then you going to have to kill her.
Yeah, but it still doesn't make sense. If you're dead, I can do whatever I want with your daughter. You know what I'm saying? It's just, right. I don't know. I
might become her best friend.
Yeah, we could have our own little spin-off show here. It could be,
it'd be like the Hound and Arya.
Yeah, exactly, man.
And Lydia.
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
Man, I actually wouldn't mind seeing that now, like an alternate or Elseworlds tale. It's like Beta and Lydia just go off and do their thing.
Mm-hmm. That'd be pretty cool.
The Hound and Arya style.
Yeah.
And like Lydia's got a list and she wants to kill him because he killed her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I miss Game of Thrones.
You still have the face wearing stuff going on, so
you've got the faceless men. You got the people that wear other people's faces. So I mean, really, maybe The Walking Dead is like a prequel to Game of Thrones.
It could be, man.
Haven't we talked about that before?
I'm sure we have, man. We've talked about so much stuff, and
yeah, I feel like we've talked about how I mean, obviously it's not even the same network, but how cool of an idea it is that The Walking Dead is like the catalyst that jump started, like the Game of Thrones. Because some people theorize that Game of Thrones wasn't in the past; it was actually set way far in the future after humanity, and civilization kind of fell.
Yeah,
and technology is what gave rise to magic and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
it's cool
it stands to reason The Walking Dead could have been. I mean, White Walkers, face wearing, giant guys, carrying after girls. So I mean, there's some similarities there. It sounds wrong when you say that out loud.
Yeah, it does. It's a little off-putting, but don't worry about it. You're on vacation. You can be off-putting if you want.
That's true, man. I am so sad to be back from vacation because I've always told you that we could just move away, and due to the technology and the miracle of things like Google Hangouts and such, podcasts can easily survive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so sad to be back from vacation. I mean, I love the podcast. I love the listeners, all of it. I love my job, but I'm not going to lie. I could stay there for about another week or two, or 5,000, whatever.
Well, if this taught us anything, it's that we can stay connected. I've thought about, relocating to Colorado. Who knows what could happen.
Yeah. So you have no excuse now.
Yeah. Just
for the podcast.
Yeah. Google Hangouts, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, like I said, I like this episode. I like that we're getting a little backstory. It's kind of odd because I wasn't expecting to get a backstory on Beta. Because, it's strange that we've gotten a backstory on Beta and Alpha, but we really hadn't gotten one on Negan. Yeah,
it's a little weird. I'm sure they'll take an episode just for that at some point, but I do need some Jeffrey Dean Morgan in the next episode. I need him to kind of be let off the leash. I hope they don't draw that out to where they don't let him off the leash until the mid-season finale. I think that'd be pretty lame.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, and I hope that's not what they do. But I got a feeling that's where it's going. But my buddy was saying I think what's going to happen is Negan's going to save someone, and then that which we kind of got that with Judith. But I was telling him, I said, well, that's spoilers a little bit for the comics. But my God, if you're that far behind on the comics, man. Slight spoiler, but there is a point where he saves Rick. It's Rick he saves, being that Rick is no longer in the show. It could be Michonne, and it probably will be Michonne. I said, I absolutely think he'll save someone very important aside from Judith, and that's kind of going to be what gives him a little bit more free reign. I love when he talked about braining somebody with a tomato last episode. Yeah, I want to see him save Maggie and then them get naked together. I've always said it ever since he bashed in Glenn's head that him and Maggie are going to be a thing. They're going to get naked, and it's going to be great. Would it be hot to watch Maggie and Jeffrey Dean Morgan do their thing or Negan do their thing? Yes. We always love when Maggie gets to do her thing. Gets naked, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Man, it would be a great twist, though, and I think it could happen. It's kind of like, what's the syndrome where you fall in love with the person who murdered your significant other? Isn't that a syndrome? Isn't that a thing? I don't know about the significant other. You got Stockholm Syndrome, which is where you fall in love with your captor. Yeah, that's what he should do. Or Maggie should kidnap him. I don't know what's going to happen, but they need to get naked together. I think you're going to be very disappointed on that one. I don't think that's going to be a thing. Well, imagine trying to explain that to Herschel Jr. Right. Why? So my new daddy killed my old daddy? Well, sometimes the flowers of love blossom best when fertilized with brain fragments. Yeah. That sounded so sexual. Even though you threw brain fragments in there. Yeah, I'd throw that. Talking about repressed sexuality, JP. Have you been repressed sexually lately? Because I'm starting to get. Being that you brought that up at the beginning of the podcast, I'm starting to get that now. Yeah, it all makes sense. Looking at the last 3 years or so of podcasting. It's starting to make a lot of sense. Well, my sexual appetite is insatiable. So, and there's only so much that's legal in the Commonwealth. So, the great Commonwealth. Yeah. But yeah, I thought the episode was great. I thought that again, I'm not excited to see them going back to. Which at least we did have flashbacks, I guess. But I'm not excited to see them going back to the focusing on one character or characters per at least give me two different storylines, two different character storylines, because we did get two different Whisperer storylines. But with that said, it wasn't a bad episode. It was not nearly as bad as any Death and Daryl and Beth episodes. Those still in my mind. That's why I'm kind of scarred. Whenever it's a episode focused on one character, I just think back to the Daryl and Beth episodes, and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to go through that again. Yeah, but no, man, I thought it was pretty solid. It didn't blow me away, but I left my sofa satisfied. For reasons we probably don't want to get into. I was pleasuring myself. No need to hide it. But I was reading somewhere. I don't know how true it is, but I was reading that the season 10 premieres like the lowest ratings The Walking Dead's had or something.
Yeah, man, but I think it's it went up against like some sports stuff that hurt it.
I could see that. Which I was telling my friend, that's the thing you got to consider. She's the one that was telling me about it at the beach. And I was like, one thing you got to consider, man, is that even when they say it's the lowest ratings ever for The Walking Dead, you're still talking about millions of people tuned in and watching. So it's not, it's still not cancellation territory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Like I said, I was trying to look it up, but I think there was like a basketball playoff game or something like that drew a lot of
footballs on, baseballs. You know, you're getting closer to the World Series with baseball, so there's lots of sporting events going on right now that could easily disrupt, The Walking Dead. And you got to think about how many people, like our good pal Aaron. You know, he loves The Walking Dead. It's one of his favorites, but he doesn't watch it on TV. He waits till it's done and watches it on Netflix.
Yeah, man. Our pal Matt Crowder was just saying the same thing last night. He said he was going to bank up some episodes and then watch them. I was watching it on a Sling, like the Sling app last night. I don't know if that, counts in their ratings, So
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people that do that. I mean, I do that with The Flash. I don't watch The Flash as it comes on, but once it's on Netflix, I watch. It's like I'm doing with American Horror Story now, which I just finished Apocalypse, and I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm going to start the new one, which is set in the 80s here soon, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I got to get on that, man. It's I guess everybody's jumping on the 80s wagon now since Stranger Things,
Stranger Things, absolutely, man. They showed how cool the whole retro 80s thing. I think it's because, so many of the people in the age range that love the show, it feels, because even for us, I mean, we really weren't, like, I tell people, like, I'm not an 80s baby. Technically I was, but, it's like my time was the 90s and the 2000s. But I think a lot of people in that age range, they see these shows and they just get nostalgic, and they love it.
Yeah, man, I want to see a really tight, like nostalgic 90s show. And speaking of 90s nostalgia, our friend Caitlin Howard's supposed to be sending us a big old tub of 90s nostalgia. So come on, Caitlin Howard, get on it.
Get on it, Caitlin.
Yep.
By the way, thank you so much for listening.
Yes, that as well. And a great Patreon. So, yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Patreons, we know that we've been a little slack on the Patreon, and we are, now that we're back from vacation, kind of got all that out the way. In the next couple of weeks, we're really going to step up that Patreon, which we are seriously working hard behind the scenes trying to get some merch to the patrons, because you guys are going to get straight up free merch, something as a way to say thank you. But so that's on the horizon. So for our Patreons, please hang in there. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And we're going to really start focusing a lot on the Patreon here very soon. I think it's just that we didn't expect to get any patrons. So the fact that we did get patrons, we're kind of unprepared for that.
Yeah, but we love the love, and we're making use of the support. And you're going to get some cool stuff out of it.
But yeah, so let's wrap this up and rate this thing. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I'm going to do a 3.5. But keep in mind, it's out of 5. So, I mean, it's over half. I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah. I was hanging around 3.5 myself on it. Like before you even said anything, that was about where I was. Like I said, the sexual frustration, man, is just palpable, and they need to do something about it, or the whispers are just going to explode, man. And not in the way that I want to see.
Fun to say, but right now, I don't.
I'm just saying, man. You want to keep a cult together. That's the way to do it.
A cult that orgies together stays together.
Yeah. And that's true of so many groups.
Yep.
But
we'll catch you on Wednesday for Weird Wednesday. If you've never checked out our channel, please give it a look. We do way more than The Walking Dead. On Wednesdays, we cover something supernatural or paranormal. Thursdays, we answer your questions. So check the channel out, and hopefully you'll stick around.
Yeah, dude, I really want to dive into some UFO stuff, dude. Like Joe Rogan's been having some UFO people on lately, and man, it's got me itching to talk about some UFOs.
Hey, we can do it.
We can do it.
But yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday, and we appreciate everybody listening so much. Once again, I'm Justin.
Oh, yeah, and I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.
Yep. Over and out.